Fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us. So we've got Rosella here. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Rosella, from Italy. We've got Carrie from Inverness in Scotland. Hayley joins us from Warwickshire. Hi, Hayley. Thank you very much. Hayley, go on there. So we've got 3 people are chatty. Okay, that's great. So I'm going to introduce us here. So I'm Phillippa Christie from Equine Partnership, and I'm joined today by Niamh O'Carroll. Niamh, do you want to say hi to everyone?
Hi guys, I'm really happy to be joining Phillippa in this webinar, and I hope we can have a lovely chat and share some information about Bitless and Bitless riding.
Cool. Yeah, this is kind of going to be informal. It's more just a chatty. I've got a few slides that as we go in, we're going to dip in and out for a bit of information. But on the whole point, this is about conversation. And, you know, Niamh and I have had some amazing talks over the last couple of years. And I've been really felt so privileged, really, to get to know you, Niamh, because you're a fabulous rider and a lovely coach. And I know that you coach a lot of young people down in West Cork in their eventing, and you support them eventing and showing. Is that right?
Yeah, eventing, showing, show jumping, everything. A couple of people just who like to hack out and do some trek and everything, you know?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be here without Phillippa's knowledge either, you know, and that has helped me so much in my own riding and be able to progress on. So it's been fantastic.
Oh, that's very kind of you to say. It's very kind. Although and then all, you know, the other way as well, Niamh's kind of helped me develop a lot of work. We've been working together and training together. So, and I'm going to just show you a video here. So this is a video that is for Equine Partnership TV. So that's pretty much what this is. I've just not got around to marketing it really, but this is what it is, Equine Partnership TV. There's monthly webinars. So I'm going to play you a little video now. This is from when Niamh and I did some filming together up in Cork at Lee Valley Equestrian Centre, and it features Niamh and I and a couple of riders, so just kind of to give you an idea about what we've been up to. So hopefully you can see this. So that's us. That's our little intro. I'm going to take off the screen sharing now, just so you can just see us now. So that was a really good day, wasn't it? Because we were.
Oh, it was so much fun. Just to work together and like learn so much and just like be able to like, I don't know, ride Bitless and just try new things and see other people doing it, and then see it all come together was just really, really cool. And you know, I could go, oh, that's my horse and I'm doing that, and it was really, really fun. Enjoyed all of it.
Yeah, and we were talking today as well about kind of transitioning to Bitless. So that's kind of like our thing here. Just going to say hi to Linda in Leeds and Kate from Newcastle, and we've got another. We're up to 20 now, so you know, if anybody else wants to. Hello, and you know, thank you very much for coming. So kind of we're going to touch on a few bits and pieces, but we're going to kind of do it more in a chatty sort of way. So so Niamh and I met, God, how long ago did we start working together? About 2 years ago. Feels like. Yeah, I'd say about 2 years ago. And yeah, and I turned up to your yard with my Bitless 101 book and a back of my car full of bridles.
You left 2 Bitless bridles, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I had quite a few, but I just really just started out kind of with the book and I'm still working through all the processes that I've been doing, and we came and did a fit for 2 of your horses. So That was Diego and Rufus. So I'm going to share a couple of pictures actually while you're talking. Wait, do you want to tell people about your horses?
So my two main horses are Rufus and Diego. Rufus I've had for about 9 years in October, and he's my event horse. I've evented him up to about international 2-star level up in Tattersall. And then Diego is my now 10-year-old Irish sport horse I've had for about 7 years. And his main things, he does a bit of everything, showing, show jumping. He's been to the RDS a couple of years and does the work is there. He events too. He's just my all-round horse. I absolutely adore the both of them. But they'd be my main two horses, along with my other 7 of them or something like that. So I'm well busy, but they're my 2 boys.
They're gorgeous. I'm going to see if I can do screen shares now. I'm still working out with how this much works. So this is Rufus. Is that right?
Yes, that's Rufus. And his favourite thing to do is to smile. He does it all the time. You'll be looking at him and you'll be doing hand gestures and all sorts of things. And there he is with his little lip going up and down, yo-yo. And then this is Diego. I like to see he's being there in the Transcend. And
she's getting very adventurous here. We're not suggesting that everybody else has to go and take their hats off and stand on their horses' backs. We're not suggesting that, but just to kind of show you this is the sort of stuff that Niamh gets up to.
In between everything else, they are so patient with me. I think I just packed them up. I was like, I need to get some videos. It was like International Bitless Day and set up on him, and he puts up a lot with me.
He's gorgeous, and you've got a lovely arena. You're based down in the beautiful West Cork, and there's a few pictures of Rufus here in the Transcend, and then we got one of Diego in that he tried out the Karen North bridle. So we did some filming with that. So that was you riding with that one. And that was an interesting day trying out all the bridles, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Remember up in the field as well.
Yeah, these are the photos that I'm sharing of you riding up in the field. So this is. Did you ride both? Did you ride both the horses up in the field?
Both. I did ride both of them, and there was the day with there was something going on in the far hedge there, and they were all being spooky at it, thinking there was a big bad monster in the hedge.
Yeah, and I think because one of the things that I kind of wanted to cover in this webinar at Transition to Bitless, and I kind of posted about earlier today, was this whole concept of fear around Bitless. I did a professionals webinar a couple of weeks ago, and the biggest question that everyone felt I didn't cover was like, what about the brakes? You've not talked about the brakes. And we discovered that because we were just doing transitioning, weren't we? We were just throwing different bridles on, seeing what kind of happened, because we were just working out things. And there was one spooky moment.
Yes.
And you handled it like a pro. I mean, I think this is where training comes into it. Like,
yeah.
Because your horse spooked, and he set off, didn't he? He just set off.
He did. And he's really strong. I think it was Diego, and he's a big, powerful horse. And I know him, and when he spooks, he goes from here to that way, like that, And
but you managed to work him round, and actually that kind of. Now, was this before or after the filming? I think it was before, wasn't it?
Before, as warming up.
This was before the filming.
Yeah.
And it was actually on that day that it kind of, because what you kind of did was working round in the circle, and it kind of got me thinking about a lot of the circle work that we do. And my background's in Western riding training, and we talk a lot about the one rein stop, and there's a lot of talk about the one rein stop's actually it can be actually quite dangerous for the horse's body. You can cause injury if you do that wrong.
Yeah.
So I was writing about like the one rein stop and trying to help people find a safer way to do that. And actually, on that day, you kind of sparked you lit the bulb, so to speak.
Yeah. I can say like I didn't know that's what I was doing, but I just remember like I was just working him in a circle, and if I could just get him to stop and then just make him stand, because I know with him. You can't with him force him and push him. You have to make him stop, look, and then take it all in. And I think it was just about circling him and then making him stop and then praising him, which is what I really did with him that day, But I think for me, I'm very lucky with Diego and Rufus in that they are, they've been trained like in more classical ways, you know, and they're schooled to, you know, a good enough level. And so they understand like my voice cues, my CAs, you know, they understand, you know, when you ask to come back. But since being with you, and especially when we did the
I was thinking then about the training that we did. So there's some footage on the video there. You can sort of see when you sort of saw me with Niamh. I'll see if I can pull it back up there and just go back onto our video. And there's just this little bit. I'll take the sound off. Where we are doing. I'm just going to throw through this. Where are we?
Yeah, there anyway.
Yeah, so I've got it here. I'm just going to share it with everybody.
There.
So, okay, it says groundbreaking teaching methods. Okay, that was a video company, guys. So that kind of, I'd like to change that because I'm not quite, I don't know, I don't see my stuff as groundbreaking. I just see it as stuff that we just put stuff together as we find it. And I think, you know, some people think that's groundbreaking. I don't know.
But like the stuff I did with you that day, like I'd never seen or been taught it before. Like that was never been a way to like teach your horse to stop, you know, in a more traditional way. It's all about, you know, you pull half out, give half out, you know, but you can't do that with Bitless, you know, it's not about that. And I think this is groundbreaking because you're teaching the horse a very clear cue. This means stop, you know, which is the whole, you know, people say about safety and the fear and all that. If you can teach your horse this, then the horse, and you do it properly, you've got your breaks then, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of it. I think what we were doing here was like, we were just re-establishing these cues, because one of the really important things, and I think this is kind of gets missed, and I keep talking about this, and I've written about it in a recent article, is that, you know, we transition from bitless, from bitted to bitless, and we've also got transitioning from bitless to bitless, because, you know, a bits work on different parts of the mouth, and then all of a sudden you put a bitless bridle on, and that could signal from under the jaw, it could signal from the nose, it could signal from, you know, more from the poll. So, you know, how's the horse going to translate? And if you're using, say, a cross under, which is using indirect pressure, and you're going from a bit that you're using direct, you're using some sort of direct pressure. I mean, if you went from Western riding in a bit to Western riding in a bosal, it'd probably be different, because you're already using neck reining, so it's gonna have a difference there, and you have similarity there anyway, so you're not going to have to work on those differences. But when you introduce a bridle, they need to know what you're asking, otherwise you could just end up with a load of confusion. And I think that's, you know, and that's what we actually saw on that day, because as soon as they got it, and then it was soft. Yeah.
And I know that from, you know, I have a 4-year-old mare who I'm breaking myself. Her name's Tess. She's a half sister to Diego. And I was like, right, I really want to try and break her and be bitless. She has had a bit in her mouth, obviously, because she's going to be competing. And, you know, for dressage and showing, she needs a bit in her. And for selling purposes, I wanted to be comfortable in a bit. But after that, I put it all bitless. And once you taught her and she got it, you know. You might have to keep reinforcing, but I was so surprised at how quick she got it, you know. And that was the most interesting thing and the most rewarding thing, you know, when they get it.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, like you said, you know, when they're when you get that communication, it's right, and it does. And when you were saying before about the previous training, you know, people don't really take into account just how much previous training they've done with a bit. So if you're starting a horse from scratch bitless, then you're going to do all of the stuff, well, hopefully assuming that you've got lots of knowledge and you know what you're doing, you're going to start them off with communication just in that sort of way. And you're probably going to want to start them off the lightest way possible, because, you know, one of the things I kind of touched on before was about the different bridles, where we were working with different bridles, and you really did get different responses, didn't you, when you were trying them?
Yeah, remember when we had we were riding in the transcend and in the transcend double, especially, and we had the double reins just on the
the split reins, was it?
The split reins, and then
no, it was a double reins with the linkies.
Yes, we had just the plain double reins, then we had the split rein.
Yeah.
And then we had the linkies then as well. And like on both different horses, like Rufus the split reins, it was too much for him. He sucked back too much, you know. But then for Diego, it worked better. I got a much softer feeling throughout his body, you know. So that just little bit of difference from horse to horse made a huge difference for my riding in terms of like a, you know, flat work and the dressage, you know. But it was only so small, but it was, you know, key almost.
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm working with you the last couple of years and with a few other people as well. Like there's a new book that I'm working on. I mean, I'll be honest, the Bitless 101 now is completely sold out. Like that's it. The Bitless 101 as it was will never be reprinted because we have a new book coming out, Bitless and Bridleless, and doing that one with so that book's with City Beach over in Wales, and she's a bridleless trainer, and I went over and did a workshop for her last year. But working with all these different people and, you know, applying different assessments, different methods, actually that assessment process has really evolved quite a lot. Okay. So I'm really looking forward to sharing the new book and the new assessment process, because, you know, it's great that I can go out with 50 odd bridles and help people and so on, but that's not really practical for most people who want to just, you know, have some sort of a clue. So the assessment process being there is designed to help people work with their own horses and see what their own horses respond best to.
Yeah, and not all one Bitless bridle suits every horse. Like I know Tess doesn't really like the one type of Bitless bridle, but I put her in another one and she was much happier, you know. But going through like your assessment, you can narrow it down, you know, for people out there who want to go try Bitless. If you go through the assessment and it's really, really clear, then you can narrow down which type of Bitless bridle would suit your horse better, you know.
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, we'd all, you know, in an ideal, like, they never spooked, they never booked, they never bronked, they never bolted. We'd all ride bridleless with and float above them and rainbows would appear. But in reality, actually, we work with a lot of horses that have been trained by other people, and we might not always have enough knowledge. We might still be learning. So, you know, sometimes we need more control. So we have to, you know, be, like I say, in an ideal world, going for that beautifully padded side cue or a double like the Transcend is absolutely, you know, what we're working towards. But sometimes we can't start there. And some people think, well, you know, I'd be worried about the brakes and stuff. And I mean, I know if you're a confident rider, you know, you're probably going to already have a plan B, because you know, probably practiced it with a bitted bridle anyway. You probably have that plan B, whether you were bitless or not. But for some people, having that extra control, because we were talking about hacking and different situations where you use different bridles. So when we talk about transitioning to bitless, it's not just a case of throwing one bridle off and one bridle on and going, right, we're fine now, we're bitless.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's more to it.
I think for me, when you're transitioning to bitless bridle, and I think this is you as well, like the most important thing is like your ground cues and your stop. I think you have to, I think you're a little bit like, you don't just think, oh, I'm going to get a bitless bridle, I'm going to stick it on my horse and we're all going to be hunky-dory, you know? You have to do the work beforehand, you know, especially like if they're maybe not at school as well, or they have problems, you know, you have to start the groundwork. And like I was talking to you about, like the hacking, for me, I usually school a nice soft, you know, side pull at the Transcend for schooling, you know, happy out. But then when I take Diego out hacking, I put him in the orbitless, which is a slightly more, I guess, control or like precision of where I'm asking him, just in case he did, you know, it's mainly for me, just in case he spooked or something came and he spun, or, you know, but that's something I now have to work on, like Phillippa and I were talking about. I have to now work on more his stop cue now. So I can work towards putting him on the Transcend. So I think, you know, it's all right, you don't have to go for the but
yeah, I mean, this isn't Niamh, this is somebody else who was actually riding on the day we were filming. So I was just going to show you a few pictures here that haven't been shown, so there's a little bit of a nice insight here as to what was kind of going on the day. And you know, we had riders trying different bridles and riders who had never been bitless before ever, and then we had riders who only ever ridden bitless. So it was interesting to see how they handled things differently and what their previous training brought in.
Like I rode Rufus in the Transcend that day, and he was just a little bit quick going around the field in the cross country.
He was a little bit quick. He was, but you know, but I think the thing was that you had the skills to bring him back.
Oh, yeah. Oh, completely. Like it was, to be honest with me, it was a great laugh, you know, to know he was so happy and enjoying himself, and he squeaks when he's excited. He's squeaking away around the corner.
I know. And I just got to say, I love this picture. This is my favorite all-time photo of you riding.
I love it too.
It's just great. But I loved his squeals. He really did, honestly. We'd have to dig out some footage of that now. But I know sometimes. This was nice. So this was me riding, and I was riding. I was riding Rufus.
It's Rufus, yeah.
I was just looking at the nose there, and he was wearing the Orbitless, and Rufus doesn't normally like the Orbitless, does he?
No, he just doesn't like how it sits on his cheeks, you know. So
you can actually see the tension in his nose even in this picture. Like he was not impressed at all that one eye was on him, because he's used to this nice little light rider, and then I got on. So he had that to contend with, and he had the bridle that doesn't actually suit him so much. But yeah, so this is another horse, the same day, in an Orbitless, with an actual different hanger on, so that it sat a bit further back off the eye and things like that. And this rider had never ridden before, and she rode in the school just following the stuff that we'd done previously, and she just went and did all that sort of transitioning work, and then she took it out across country course. They were stars. They were absolute stars that day.
It was super. Yeah, we go out there and do it, and they all had so much fun.
I think that's it as well. Do you know, like we sometimes forget. We get very serious talking about, oh, you're doing this and doing that. You know, riding's meant to be fun for the most part, unless you're actually out there and you're a professional competing and stuff. And actually, that will lead us nicely into what we'll talk about next. But you know, this is about having fun with your horses, and you know, in terms of that.
You know, when, you know, for me at the very beginning, Bitless was like, oh my God, if you can ride, like, do all this stuff Bitless, it was the coolest thing ever, you know? So much fun, like, you're taking a bit away. That's what really started for me, you know, but now it's evolved into more that, you know, my horses actually go even better Bitless, and the comfort of it, you know? How it started at the beginning was that kind of like, oh, this is kind of fun, you know? We're trying something different, you know?
Yeah. But it has helped you, though, hasn't it, in terms of you transitioning to Bitless? It's helped you in your more professional riding, your competitions.
So, like with Rufus, especially Ru, he's quite like a sensitive horse, and I always have had difficulties like warming up to the dressage. He'd get very it was excited. He was like, oh, we're going out, we're starting this, and I'd be warming up. And that excitement, because I was trying to get him, you know, to relax and calm down and to try and warm him up, that created tension. And then, of course, when I went into my test, I had, you know, he was tense, and I didn't get the same nice movements, you know, so it just it wasn't working as well. And then I started riding Bitless, and I decided one day, right, I'll try it. I'll warm up Bitless. So it was a Eventing Ireland competition, and I said, I'll warm up for the dressage Bitless. You know, there was no rules against that, and I warmed him up for I think 15 minutes Bitless, and then I swapped over into his normal snaffle, and so much more relaxed. He got excited, but it never got up to the point where he got tense. He calmed down because I didn't have the bit in his mouth to try and soften him and work him. He didn't get tense. He just got excited, we're here, and then he settled, and then he's so nice and supple. You know, I think we got a really nice, you know, score that day, and I think since then every time I have a dressage test I warm them up Bitless now.
And HSI don't have an issue with that?
And I've had HSI, Eventing Ireland, Dressage Ireland, I've been to all of them, and the stewards have seen me ride in it, and they've come up to me and asked, oh, you know, what is this, or why are you doing it? You know, they're genuinely interested in why I have this on him, you know. And you get, you know, honestly, you do get the odd people, especially kind of when I'm walking around and they'll be looking at it and you can kind of see the funny looks, you know, but so be it, you know, maybe they haven't seen it, they don't know as much about it, you know, but if it works, it works. You have to trust yourself and go with it, you know, leave other people to their own devices. But the stewards were all really positive about it, you know, which was lovely. And I had to ask questions about it, was really nice as well.
That's great. I think there is a shift going on. I mean, the shift's going backwards and forwards. So we're seeing that Bitless isn't allowed in eventing, but actually then, you know, in other ways, Bitless is moving forwards. And so I was going to talk a little bit now about this. I use this. This is a slide from another presentation that I did. But I think it's just really important to address when people are thinking about, can I transition to Bitless? Is it for me? You know, I just want to kind of talk through, these are kind of the main things that I think are kind of important to go through. So kind of like we have the critics.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the self-critic that says, well, my horse is too strong. And we kind of covered that a little bit, that it is training related, it's having the right bridle, it's knowing which bridle to use in which situation. And, you know, and that's not something you're going to know tomorrow. That's why it's a transition, because it's a transition for you. Yeah. As much as it is your horse, and you've got to give yourself the time to learn and not rush. And you don't want to rush your horse. You want to enjoy this transition. And
also, like you say, not to rush. And like for me, don't feel like stuck. Like you have to be like bitless or bitted. You know, you can start to transition bitless while still riding bitted. You know, you can do the groundwork. You know, to teach your stop cues, which is what I did with my mare Tess. I taught her the verbal cue to stop, you know, and I did that on the ground from the beginning, even when I put a bit in her mouth, you know. So you can still ride bitted, but we're working on your bitless. Don't think you have to go like this, all of a sudden you're bitless, you know.
Yeah, and actually in that respect, I actually advise people exactly the same, because I think that, you know, safety comes from confidence and understanding and knowledge. And if you don't understand the bridles, or you don't know which, if you're using the right bridle, if you don't have the confidence to do the training, you're not confident whether should I be riding out. If you're asking that question and you're not confident, then what you need to do is to seek out confidence. So seek out a confidence coach, seek out to learn more about what it is you want to do. And so that whole thing about my horse is too strong, you know, every horse has the ability to be too strong. Every horse does. So it's about, is your riding, are you aiming for that? Are you aiming for your riding to be soft? Because maybe if you're not bitless isn't for you right now, maybe that's something that it's just not ready for you right this minute, but it doesn't mean that it won't be right for you later on.
Yeah, exactly.
Just where you are at the time. I think that sort of acceptance and being okay to accept that people are at different points with what suits them and what they appreciate.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Like Lulu, I rode her bitless, but I kind of hit a point in my training where I had to go back to a bit because I couldn't figure out what was going on or why, you know. But that's okay, you know. I will get there eventually. I have to figure out maybe something else in between, you know. And like you say, I think you said that, you know, if you're asking yourself, will I be okay going out? You know, if you're too unsure, maybe that time isn't just yet, and that's okay. You know,
and that gives you the cue then to go and work on that.
Yeah.
You know, that's your cue. If you're not sure about something, that's your cue to go and work on it, and then you can find the right person. You need to, you know, go out there and find the right confidence coach, or your coach, or a riding coach, or instructor, or bitless instructor. There are several of them around, lots of them in different countries. So just trying to find the right person that you think that can take you on this journey, and it is a journey. You know, and it's a never-ending journey, which is the best part about it, you know, because there's always something new to learn. And I think that's what makes having a horse so exciting. There's always another level. Helpful advice. Now, I mean, we're throwing out bits and pieces here, but do you know, there's always that one person on the yard that just goes, do you know, I used this bridle and that, or this bit, or this piece of tack, or this feed, and it cured everything. All of a sudden the horse was fine, magically. It's not helpful, is it?
No. And then they kind of start forcing it on you a little bit, and then you feel a little bit under pressure or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
No,
it's kind of been able to, you know, if people kind of say, oh, the helpful advice, and someone's trying to give a really good, so Kathy Syra, she was doing a talk with her the other day. She's a complete confidence coach.
Yeah.
She started Complete Confidence, and she was saying, you know, these people that are offering you helpful advice, you know, a good line to give them back is, well, my instructor actually thinks that this is probably going to work better for us, so we're going to go with that. And I thought that was great. And You know, so if you feel like you're getting bombarded with helpful advice, find somebody that you really trust, and kind of then you can always revert back. Well, my instructor says this, and it kind of shuts up those critics a little bit. So you're self-critic, and the whole, you know, can't use it in competition. That's kind of the elite saying, you know, oh, you can't use this. It's not good enough for us. It's not good enough. It's bitless. It's not good enough. It's like, well, you know, we're also seeing riders of absolutely fantastic, phenomenal level. And I'm going to mispronounce her name now because I'm terrible with names. But is it Elise Fromont? She's a dressage rider, and she rides bridleless and bitless. And
I think it's amazing. Like, I think you have to keep thinking that, you know. I know it's so hard to get into your head, and all these people looking at you and frowning down upon you, you know. But you know, remember the Instagram accounts you follow or Facebook accounts you follow. You think, oh my God, how cool is that? You know, so many people think that's amazing, you know. So keep that in your head and just keep going through. You just got to push those people behind you. Oh, just nod. You just nod and say, yeah. You know, there's a few people who go, no, nah.
And actually question, are these competitions right for you and your horse? If you know, do you want to be welcomed, or do you want to, you know, if you're pushed around at one thing, you're going to get pushed around for not wearing the right jacket or the right hat or the most expensive boots or the sparkly brow band. There's always going to be something that they'll try and use to make you feel just a bit less. And actually, I just don't think that that's a healthy environment for people to be in if they feel pushed upon in those sort of ways.
I think it's actually less than what I think it's less than what people think. You know, I think people aren't being so critic as much as they think, you know. So as well.
Yeah, and you know, like I say, if it's not one thing, it'll be another. So it's like, you know, just go out and enjoy what you enjoy. And, you know, you've either got to know I'm going to be criticised for this, and you've just develop a thick skin to it, or you say, do you know what, doing this with my horse is more important to me than the competition. So, you know, you've got the choice and the power to choose what to do there. So Linda's just raised her hand. I like raising hands, that's cool. So Linda, you raised your hand. Did you want to ask a question? Do you want to you can post something in the chat or the Q&A box. We've got that there as well. So I'll look out for that for a second. So yeah, so the horse being too strong, can't use in competition, the helpful advice, and then the environment is just such a key thing, really, to go in bitless. You know, if you're in an environment where everybody thinks it's weird, you know, then you find an environment where people are going to be more accepting and encouraging. Are you surrounding yourself with people who want to see you and your horse doing best? Oh, Linda said she's messing with the screen. She's new to Zoom. Well, she's found a new thing. If anybody wants to raise a hand and ask a question, it's a very good way to signal to me that you've got a question in that.
All your questions, whatever it is, just ask.
Yeah. And if you transition to bitless, so insurance is a good one. So I kind of got instructor insurance because this is from an instructor course that I did. BHS Gold Rider Insurance, to the best of my knowledge, it covers me bitless.
Yeah.
I would always say ring up for yourself and have it and check it, because you just don't know. Their underwriters might change the policy next week, and there might have been a written update that I haven't had. So, you know, I'm not going to say for certain that these things are there, but you should at least investigate them. BHS Gold Rider Insurance is it's available in Ireland and the UK. And if you're in a different country, look out for your insurance. Check that they're happy with bitless, and check out which bridles as well. Not all bridles are covered under insurance. People don't realise this. So sometimes a halter might not be covered to ride out with, especially. I mean, in the school it's one thing, but for third party, if you're riding down the road, for example, then and your horse had an accident and you were wearing if your bridle broke, do you know, then that might be in a bitted or bitless, do you know, that happens. And if your horse bolted, they spooked, and if you were riding in a halter, and then you know, as far as the highway code, it's about making sure. They actually covered this in the Intelligent Horsemanship magazine. I did an article for them. It's just come out this month, and it's really, really good. It covers quite a few bits and pieces in here, and one of the things that they actually double checked with was the highway code states never ride a horse without both saddle and bridle, and it says bridle. So make sure when you're riding out in a bitless bridle that it is a bridle and it's not a halter, or check that your insurance, and get it in writing, that your insurance will cover you in a halter. That is just important, because accidents happen. Just be safe, you know, be safe. Instructor insurance, you don't need to worry about that unless you're an instructor, but most insurances cover Bitless anyway. And then there's just, you know, we were talking about the safety side of it, having the training and things like that. Little bit of a fun quiz. If anybody's come to my professionals course, you're not allowed to do this because you're not allowed to give away the answer. There's a little quiz for you. Bitless or bitted? Can you tell? Oh, and I bet that's, I'm just going to hide that out of the way because I don't need to see. Bitless or bitted? Could you tell? So we've got so front left, front top right, bottom left, bottom right. I'm not going to tell you which ones are bitted and are bitless. So if we say the top left is 1, top right is 2, I don't know where there were actually numbers on here. They've just gone. So if anybody fancies throwing out a few guesses there, and I'll just move on a little bit to biomechanics while we're talking about this. I've got another biomechanics here as well. So because bitless does affect the biomechanics, and when you were saying about, you know, it helps with relaxation while you're warming up, one of the biggest things people find when they transition to bitless actually is that their horse will throw their head, they ride really low.
Sometimes. Yeah, and very heavy. Yeah.
So and we had that with the video with yourself, and I don't know what I've done with those videos. I don't have that video here tonight. It was in here. I'll see if I can investigate it with people. So what we've got a guest coming in there about that one. While that's going on, I'm just going to see if I can find. I've got a great video of Niamh actually training. Let's just see if I can.
Oh, that's that one. I didn't see that one before.
So I get a little preview here of. So yeah, so I'm just going to show this video. Hopefully this is working for everybody. So this is when you first put Diego in the in one of the bitless bridles, and we're not going to say which bridle. We still can't say which bridle. So that was just putting him in there. Just play that again, so you can see how long and low he is. But he's really on his forehand, and he's really stretching down. And at the time, I kept saying, just lengthen the rein, and you were kind of like going, "I'm like, we have no rein left."
Yeah.
I think you were a bit like, what are you asking me to, why are we doing this?
But he had to, I guess that was to more find his balance, was it? And to find...
Well, he needed to know what was going on. He's kind of investigating, he's kind of going down, going, where's the bit? He's kind of almost reaching for it, and he has to know it's not there.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of think, that they need to know it's not there. That there's also this whole theory about, for me, that, you know, because of how the bit works on the tongue and the tension it can create, you know, with the hyoid and how that feeds through the body.
Yeah.
You know, and I do always liken it to wearing high heels. It is like you've been wearing high heels, and then one day you put on flats, and all of a sudden your calf muscles feel really stretched. You feel really different.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure which way it's going to be going, from flat to high heel, or I assume high heel to flat. But I really feel like they're going, oh, this is different, this feels different. And they've got it, like, say, finding the balance, like what's going on, reaching for something.
But then here's a question that other people might be thinking, like, if they continue to be on, you know, pushing into the bridle a little bit on the forehand, kind of being heavy, does that mean that that bitless bridle might not be suitable? Or, you know, maybe that it's time to change the bridle? Or what kind of would you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, what we really could do with is more research in this area, because at the minute we're sort of guessing. I've worked with a lot of people. What I find is when we find a bridle that actually works really well for that horse, we see that, and that is kind of a sign to me. And when I did the first ever workshop that I did in the UK for the Bitless 101, I turned up to it, and it was a riding school pony. And Haley just raised a hand there. So Haley, I will look out for, if you want to put a comment in there, or a question up there, I'll read it out in a second. so when we went to do the transitioning and we did some everybody did their assessments, they all learned to do assessments in their little groups. We came back and then they recommended the bridle, and then we fit the bridle as a group, and we talked about what, you know, I fitted it badly and I said, you know, what about this fit? And then we're like, oh, that's, you know, they were recognizing, and then we got them to set it right. And then we went out and it was like this, actually to start with, this horse didn't even want to stand at the mountain block. Clearly this horse did not want to be ridden. So I kind of showed them some permission work that we did. So that's, I actually ended up doing that, which wasn't planned, and put me on the spot a bit. But once we got to the point where the horse would give me permission, we did that with positive reinforcement work, just with scratches. And I actually ended up mounting it from the opposite side, because the horse was actually fine being mounted from one side, but didn't want to be mounted on the other. Yeah. So as soon as we found out what the horse preferred, we went with that. We were fine. And I got on him, and he just put his nose to the ground. And the instructors, I mean, BHSI instructors that have been there for years, and they were saying, we've never seen him do this. Never seen him ride like this. And he was so forwards. Like, he was just going beautifully. We just did loads of transitioning work, walk to trot. We just did lots of changing the rein, just lots of really gentle movements. Yeah. And after a while, he started lifting himself. And then I remember the instructor just like, can I get on? You know, I was like, yeah, sure. And he got on, and he just said he never felt that free. And it's sometimes similar to what people experience when they go from a tree to a treeless saddle. They feel all this freedom under the horse. Yeah. And I think with the bitless bridle, you start to feel a lot of freedom as well. There is something about freedom, because that tension that runs through your string and bow, yeah, it's lifted a little bit, and it's just it takes time to work with that again, and so it is transitioning while you're getting to a point. But this is, I'm just going to show another video of you riding. So we were riding around for about 20-30 minutes, and then we got to this. So this was another part. So I'm just gonna if it's gonna play, is it gonna be nice? I'm just gonna skip it to a little bit further on. So we're just asking for some trot here, and you weren't pulling him up. You can actually see in the rein there's a little dip in the rein. So actually it was about using transitions. You were doing great transition work, weren't you? Yeah. To try and get him up a little bit in through his sternum a little bit to help raise his body. There you go, that's nice. Oh. Yeah. And you come around, and I think we look at, you just start bringing about some extension, and there's lots of, you can see him falling back here a little bit because he's kind of still unsure, because this was his first time in this particular bridle, but you can see now he starts to lift. That's nice, some really nice steps there. He's quite long in his back as well. So he does kind of he tends to shorten and come in rather than lengthen over the back and come up a little bit. That's where he struggles with a lot, you know. But what I do find when I do ride in bitless, which has helped him, is he wants to take his nose forward a little bit more. You know, he is more encouraged to take his nose forward, which then does help with the over the back, you know. Yeah, I'm just going to leave this up here just while people want to have a guess in a minute. I know Leanne's put, she thinks that the top left bitless, the top right bitted, bottom left bitted, and bottom right bitless. So that's really interesting. Yeah. And I'll just see if any more want to come through, and just because it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter. It's just about actually, even if you don't want to answer it on here, just answer it in your own mind, just to, you know, look at these horses and look at their mechanics. And, you know, you've seen some mechanics there from Diego, and you can see what's been working for him. So, you know, we talk about, you know, horses that could be on the forehand, horses that could be a bit compressed, horses that are relaxed. I think you can actually be surprised, because, you know, you can cherry pick pictures. A lot of people will cherry, you know, the in the moment picture. So I think, so yeah, 1 and 3 are bitless. And it definitely isn't always like that. You know, what you see, you know, there's going to be times where it doesn't all go right, or they go stiff, or they go hard, or something happens, or, you know, I think you just got to go back to your training and just keep going, and just realize that everyone else is in the same boat. Yeah. So there's some pictures bitless or bitted. So actually, there's so Lynn says all bitless. No, so the bottom left one, so this one here, this one is bitted, the rest are bitless. This one, and actually somebody pointed out on so this one, actually someone pointed out there's loops on the reins. It's probably a disabled rider, which actually, I'll be honest, I wasn't looking for that when I picked it. What I picked a horse that I actually thought, you know, I'm not a big fan of flashes now. You know, if you are riding with a bit, I'm not a big fan of flashes, but I actually thought this horse looks more relaxed than most.
Nice walk.
Yeah, I actually thought nice because like it's not completely pole high, it's more probably at C2-3, but I think it's look too relaxed to be bitty. Yeah, so it kind of just shows that it's also what works for the horse, and I do bring this up a little bit as well. It's like, yes, I'm a bitless person and I do promote bitless as much as I can and the benefits of it, but then, you know, we can have aversive and negative effects from a bridle in both senses. You can actually see in the top right there's a horse that he looks a bit tense, do you know?
Yeah, he's a bit squished rather than round, isn't he?
Yeah.
His tension in his face as well.
Yeah, under the neck, it's just there's a lack. I mean, yeah, he's doing, you know, the work that he's doing. He needs a lot of concentration and things and stuff, but there's still a tension. There's actually, you can't probably, you might be able to see this if I zoom it in. There's actually foam at the mouth as well, which in a bitless bridle isn't something we're looking for.
No.
This one here, there's a range bring to front. You can actually see tension in the horse's face in the bottom, in the mouth. You know, and that bridle's positioned too high, that noseband's positioned too high, so it's going to, and that noseband's very thin. It's a cross under by the looks of it. And it's, I don't know why she's got a martingale on with that. I don't know what she's trying to achieve with that. But look, that's not what this session's about. But this one's probably my favourite picture of all of them. And actually looking at it, is that, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out what logo that is, but that horse probably looks, I think, the most relaxed out of all of them.
Yeah, really nice and soft and round and like happy and content. Really
Yeah,
nice.
the eyes are soft, you know, so it's nice. You know, so it's just like, just to show people with a critical eye that that actually, you know, when we're looking at, you know, it's best not to assume. But yeah. I think there's a bit of a bitless comes under a bit of a stigma because it kind of says, oh well, bitless is better than everything, and it's like, well, you know, it can be better for a horse, but not necessarily it's going to be better for every horse and rider, because and what they're doing. So it's a lot of it's about, you know, look, you're trying to make the horse as comfortable as possible.
That's what it's all about, though, isn't it? It's trying to make your horse as comfortable as possible.
And bitless is an option for that, and a bitless is a good option for that in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You know, but if you go and stick a thin noseband, badly fitted bitless bridle on it, and you're yanking at the reins, and having the same problems that you're going to have with the bit, and think, oh, I just got to go stronger and stronger and stronger, just like you would with a bit, then you're not learning anything. You're just trying to solve the problem in the wrong way. You're not going about it in the way that's actually going to resolve it. You need to look at your training. You need to look at your bridle fit, and that goes bitted or bitless. And that's why, you know, I used to be completely in the bitless camp, and I am a bitless trainer. I don't train at all bitted. But you know, there are exceptions to every rule, and I don't stand. I'm not hard and fast as I used to be on it.
What I love about you is that you can, like, it's what's best for the horse.
And the horse and the rider. So if the rider would be really nervous in a bitless bridle, then what's that going to have an impact on the horse? So when you're transitioning, actually, the way you feel about what you're doing is one of the biggest impacts. Yeah. For the horse. If you're, you know, people have said to me, I'm really nervous, should I get on the horse? And I'm going, no, don't get on the horse if you're nervous. Go find out why you're nervous, work on that, and go about it the right way, because you're not going to have any success. And whatever success you have, it's not going to be as good as it would be if you're giving yourself the extra time. So just about how bitless can be positive. So if there is an identified issue of pain, discomfort, you know, conformation of the mouth, the rider's hands, maybe there's a physical injury. I worked with a horse recently, had a broken jaw, and it just could not work with a lot of bitless bridles. We actually ended up working with a bosal, and the rider luckily had very, very soft hands. And now that horse that everybody basically said you'd never do anything with it, it was in some sort of a 3-ring gag.
Yeah.
now it's in a bosal, and she's actually riding bridleless with the bosal as well. Like,
I like the bosal is like the like least, you know, action or movement or what you
least
could
contact. Yeah, it's literally like a roll on the nose is what it's meant to be. Just literally a roll on the nose. It's not really, it's not meant to be used the same way people think, oh, that's scary, but it's not if you know what to use it. But yeah, tension of the hyoid I've kind of mentioned, so that increased extension as well. So one of the benefits that you would have noticed is because you've got that relaxation, your horse is able to extend better, which is probably why you're getting better movement in your warm up.
Yeah.
And that's why you're seeing better results. So when you then go to put the bit in, your horse is already kind of relaxed. All of that pre-stress has been dealt with in a better way because the bitless has helped you in that sense. And then you were able to take that positivity into the ring. I'd love you to be able to take the bitless into the ring. That would be the ultimate. That would be wonderful if people could just do things together and stop being judgmental. That would be brilliant.
But like the jumping, he rode John's bitless now, the show jumping anyway, for the most part. And I jumped him at the HSI final there back in October, of which he placed the 6th, I think, and he had the most fantastic round. And for him, I've had a lot of problems with Rufus in terms of confidence jumping from like injuries, my own confidence, you know, and bitless allowed him to feel like he could, I think this might go back a little bit, for me, he can take it into the fence a little bit more, you know, he could feel I was with him there, and he could take his head and move into the fence, and it just made him feel more confident actually, you know. But yeah, so that's what helped him so much with him. And now Diego, like I jumped him bitted still, but I'm wanting to try and move him towards, he schools bitless at home jumping, but just not quite, haven't got there yet for out in the competition, but that's what we're aiming for now.
That's brilliant. And he came 6th in a national competition. We just put that in perspective, like, you know, and bitless is even less here in Ireland, you know, so we just don't see it. I you know, like we talk about the critics, but the more people start to see it, and that's why you're just such a great example, because you go out there and you show people that just for you, it's just like, well, I'm using this bridle, and I'm using this bridle, and we're doing what's right for the horse. And you can't argue with that. You can't argue with you doing it that way.
No.
It's a good way to do it. So I think you're an inspiration. I'd like to see, you know, I see a lot of people in the UK that are just doing amazing stuff as well, in America and Italy. I mean, working with so many amazing bitless riders over in Spain as well. They're really bringing it, and I think the more good riders that are going with this sort of approach, it's gonna help the name of bitless all around the world. Leanne Lane. So Leanne's asked, what sort of groundwork would you be doing? My horse is 23 and my 7-year-old daughter has asked us to go bitless and I don't know where to start. Well, isn't it amazing that a 7-year-old asking about bitless?
Yeah, I think that's amazing.
That's just brilliant. That's fantastic. I mean, when I was 7, I was riding in a head collar and lead rope, so
yeah,
you know, we couldn't afford half the stuff that we probably should have had. But yeah, so the horse is 23, and age is a number. Age is a number. You know, if anybody says, "Oh, a horse is too old, stuck in its ways," to an extent, that's true. There's learned behaviours, but you can, you know, that's where learning about equine psychology would be probably my place to start. If you can learn about how your horse can change their perception of the training, is a good place to do that.
Like, you know, they might have their trained habits.
Yeah.
You can teach them a new thing, you know, there's no reason why you can't teach a new cue, you know. So I think for the groundwork, like Phillippa said, starting with with the psychology and how they learn it's really fascinating. I think that would be a good start. And for me, like when I was doing it, breaking in my 4-year-old, or backing, I will preferably want to use it for doing that. Stop cue was the most important thing. Teaching the stop cue, and I use positive reinforcement for that.
And that's great. I'm actually coming down. I was meant to come to see you tomorrow, but the weather here is just doing its thing. But hopefully next week. But we're just going to work on positive reinforcement and really, you know, creating just the strongest cue association with stop, because I think that's the point. And actually, I'll just bring this up because I'll come back to it in a bit as well. But this is a free course. So Leanne, what I would suggest for you to do is come and do this free course. It's Bitless horse riding. It's my course and new features in it. and you can see there's actually a step-by-step transitioning in here. It's the basics now. The DVD that I do, the Bitless Masterclass, that has all of the videos in it. This will be available as a premium course, but this one's free, and it does give you a really good introduction to all the bridles, fitting, safety, stuff like that. So please go and please feel free to go and do that. Enroll on the equineacademy.org. You can go and, you know, all of you can actually go and enroll in this course completely free of charge. And you know, if you do, please leave me a nice review. Tell me how you got on with it.
Like what we did on that day, which is in the masterclass, like teaching the sock cue, I taught a friend of mine who's an older woman, and she has this lovely quarter horse, you know, and she wants to do a bit of hacking, you know, kind of basic stuff, but she wants to do it bitless, and I taught him what's in the sock cue in the masterclass, and he learned it so quick, so quick. Like, so don't be put off by it. If you just even learn that, you'd be surprised how quick they can get that, you know.
Yeah, I think it's about for you, Leanne, it's about you picking up that knowledge and watch it with your daughter, enjoy it together. There's a little quiz at the end as well, so I'd say that, and you can connect as well with Equine Partnership on Facebook. And we've got a group as well, and there's Bitless and Bridleless Equestrians. There's a free group on Facebook for you to join, and, you know, talk to the members. Sometimes it cannot be helpful. People put on and say, you know, what bridle should I use? And actually, it's just not the best question to ask. It's you know, you can ask people why they use different bridles to try and get a gauge on what those bridles do. But to ask people what bridle should I put on, that's like me saying what saddle should I put on my horse. You do not know unless you actually have some sort of knowledge about how it fits and how it works. So and you can learn about that. It's bitless. It's much easier. Bits, there's so much to learn with bits, like how they contact different areas in the mouth, which are inside. You've got to understand a lot more of the conformation and mouth anatomy. Where the bitless bridles, you know, you've got the head, you have got the head anatomy, but it's much more simple. There's nice little rules you can follow. Here's a couple of little tips for you here. So 99.9% of the time, the function is going to be used on the nose. So correct noseband fit is vital. So the things to look out for are the thickness of the noseband, position of the noseband, tightness of the noseband. So there's the IC's noseband gauge. I have a couple of them. You can use those for the fitting, and also there's a noseband guard there as well you can get. So if you do have a bridle that already, and you think, oh, actually now I'm a bit worried that the noseband is going to be too sharp, too thin, or something, you can, you know, 10 quid, you can go and get a noseband guard. It's removable. You could use it on a curb strap or a noseband, get a couple, and you're good to go. You don't have to go out and buy a whole new bridle, essentially, or you can or use it while you're saving up. And all of the fitting, I normally do go through the fitting, but actually all of that fitting for the noseband is in the course, and it's free. So you can go on and learn all about fitting the noseband correctly, where it's meant to be positioned, you know, how many fingers go under the noseband, all that sort of stuff. It's all in there, and you can access it 24/7 anytime you want. So where are we up to? So I don't know if we've got any other questions. I hope that answered that question for you anyway, Leanne. So I think we've got to 8 o'clock now, so we kind of got to where we were going to be. And I don't know if anybody else has any questions that they want to ask. Fire away. Someone said, I took my Highland out in a head collar lead drop the other day, and that led me to want to take a bitless. As she went well. So that's from Carrie. That's lovely. Yeah. So well done for trying that and for looking into it. So, you know, maybe that course will be helpful. I also do the virtual bridal consultations now, because you can see behind me now, I have like loads and loads of bridles. But what I don't do is I don't just hire them out willy-nilly, because they could be, I could send you the wrong size, I could send you the wrong type of bridle. So through the consultation, which is only 40 quid, it's not designed, you know, and you get a digital copy of the book, the Bitless Bridal 101 book, you get a copy of that digitally. So I actually work with you online, help show you how to do the assessments with the book, and you can come back to me, and I can even hire you, loan you a bridle for a couple of weeks so you get on with it, and help you with the fitting of it when you get it as well, and look at any videos of you riding, things like that, give you feedback. So all of that comes in for 40 quid. So it's like, it's cheaper than me coming to you. You know, I mean, it's a very expensive flight to the UK or anywhere else. Okay, right, loads of questions coming in. So I'm going to take 5-10 minutes of these questions and then we're going to end that. So if you've got questions, definitely get them in now. How easy for novice green older horse to take to this? That's from Jane.
How easy for a novice green?
Novice green older horse. Now, do you have
like an older horse that's just green, like?
Yeah, so only green older horses to take to this. I mean,
no different, I think, from being a younger green horse to older green horse. You know, it's still the same. You're still teaching them the same. That would be. I think you could. It would just be just as easy.
Yeah,
You know?
and actually, sometimes somebody else has asked, do you recommend breaking a horse bitless or bitted first? Actually, when I start everything bitless now because, you know, actually adding a, especially if you're working with a 5-year-old, and I'll just say that you're starting doing groundwork, and actually, if they're 4 or 5 years old, you've got things going on in the mouth with the teeth.
Yeah.
That can cause more problems. You know, if you're saying, right, okay, I definitely have to take my horse bitted because I'm going to compete with it at some point later on, then, you know, if that's your choice, leave it longer, leave it till 5 or 6 to put that bit in. Because if you put it in when they're younger, and you can do all this work bitless, you know, you get yourself a nice cavison with rings, or if you want to do that sort of training, do all your groundwork, start doing it all bitless, because your horse is not going to have the discomfort with what's going on with the teeth and all the rest of it. And once they have all of that understanding bitless, and if you want to transition to bitted for your competitions, then why don't we look at it that way around? I mean, to me, that would make more sense. And actually, that's what they do a lot of in America. You know, they start in bozels and then they go on to be a bridle horse.
Because you've got all the cues there, you know. So the bit,
leg cues, that's it. Yeah.
The bit is almost like as a visual thing for when you're going out competing, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And if you feel that you're going to need that bit, it's well, yeah, like I say, I now start them bitless, and then I mean I don't transition them to bitted, just because it's just not right for me. You know,
I would now. So that's just what because I'm producing horses.
Yes.
So for me, it's important that I train my horses, because if they're going to a new home and they might not be, you know, bitless into bitless, it's important for me to know that when the horse goes to that home, that they are as comfortable as they can be in the nicest, softest bit that they can be, so that there will be no problem in the future, so that they don't have to then be bitted up or anything like that, you know.
And the great thing is that we have different approaches to that, and we still get on really well.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's like acceptance of differences, and you know, trusting each other, that, you know, we don't do things the same way, but it's like I really appreciate that you have to do that, and actually in the long run that's more comfortable for the horse if they are going to ride bitted, and you said they're not knowing how to use the bit, then actually you're doing the horse a disservice. So I totally understand where you're coming from, and that's just where we are in the world today, so we have to do that.
And likewise, I can understand why you would just want to go all bitless, because that's what you're into, that's what you want to do.
It's just what I understand. It's just what I understand better, you know. You know, you wouldn't get somebody, if I spoke fluent Spanish, you wouldn't ask me to go and teach French class.
No idea.
We're bloody useless. I can't speak either language, you know, but just about manage English. But you recommend breaking a horse bitless or bitted? First of all, you answered that one. I've got a 6-year-old rescue who isn't broken yet. Right, okay, so especially if you've got a rescue, work with a lot of rescues, really passionate about them. Well done you for rescuing, Paula, seriously. I'm a field fosterer of several, and actually, you know, growing up we used to take on a lot of rescue projects and rehabilitate them, especially racehorses and things. They weren't rescue as such, but they were rehabilitation projects anyway. Just to get them back to good homes. We were running bits then as well, bits and a bit bitless as well. But especially for the rescue horse, for them, if they've had a bad start, they're especially going to be aware, and their nervous system is more on point. Okay, so if they feel discomfort, their flight senses are going to act faster. So be aware of that. And so because the bit is still an aversive, okay, that's kind of understood in the professional world. The bit is used in an aversive way. It can't be used in a positive reinforcement type sense. that if you're teaching them with a bit and the horse has got any sort of discomfort or the horse has got any sort of memories, then you're going to be triggering that. So if you can start them off bitless and gently, and I would genuinely look at positive reinforcement training for rescue projects. There are some amazing, I mean, I do positive reinforcement training, but there's loads of trainings, things out there. Look at connection training, for example, is just one of many. So go and have a look at how the horse is going to respond to that. Bitless can be very helpful in that respect because you're less likely to trigger fight and flight just because of how it works, being less aversive, and it can be used, bitless can be used in a completely non-aversive way, which bitted can't, and that's not a negative. I'm not trying to push that as a negative, but it's what's kind of understood, certainly from my point of view anyway, that is a difference between the two of them. And that's, like I say, not a negative, it's just a fact. We've got more, right, okay, so yeah. But a 4-year-old Irish mare who knows basic stop and go, not balanced in a bitted bridle. She'd been ridden in French Link and Watford Snaffle, basically inherited other tack. I have tried this week in an orbitless. Do you have any tips for her training, please? So Niamh, you've been riding in the orbitless a lot.
I just want to find a mare who knows.
You want to have a read I tell you what, you have a read of that one and answer, and then have a think about that one, and I'll come to Katie's question. Kate's question is, so I really like the idea of bitless. I previously ruled it out as my horse doesn't love the noseband on his bridle. However, I've recently been doing straightness groundwork in a leather cavison. He's totally happy. He has a very soft mouth, and though he is only 5 and a warm blood and can get excited, actually pulling the reins doesn't work well as he just carries on and goes behind the bit. So I use my voice and he slows instantly. Do you think he could go bitless? I think both of these questions are great for you, actually, Niamh, because that bottom one, you know, ride a warm blood that gets excited. Niamh's a great example that you can.
We'll go with the. Oh, if I can pick it up 1 second.
Can you see the chats, Niamh?
I can, yeah, I can see it.
Oh, great.
Oh, where did you go? Over here.
No, I'm still here. I just got the share. That's all. Just so it just shows us.
Okay, so I don't know how to pronounce your name.
There's
the first one with the
J Irving. I don't know the name.
So I think if she's unbalanced, bitted or bitless, that's coming more from like a conformation thing or a muscular thing for her. So I think it's important. You can do it in the orbitless. I think it's really important that you work on her ability to build muscle and to build the strength in her core. So lots of, like, you can do your transitions. Walk poles are amazing. If you can do your hill work, anything that allows her to start using her core more, but you don't have to use your hands so much. You want her to try and not, I think with the orbitless, it's kind of easy to use a little bit too much of the finger to get the nose to come in, of which then they kind of go hollow through the back, you know? So if you try and keep your hands softer in the orbitless and use, like I said, your transitions and your poles and your hill work, and when you're riding her around, be aware that you're not asking for too much roundness from her nose, you know? And I think especially if she's not very balanced in the canter, try and canter in a long straight line. If you can, take her like on a track or a field, if you're confident doing that. If not, just build your way up to that. But nice straight long lines, nothing too technical in the faster paces. Just take your time, you know. Like I have Diego would be perfect for that. He's quite long and weak in his canter, so it's very easy for him to suck up in the orbitless. You want to try and keep the hands forward and let them travel forward, and think about when you're riding, you're getting your lower leg on the stomach and you're lifting them kind of up and keeping the hand forward and building the muscle and strength up.
That's good. I hope that's helpful for you, Jay.
And then we have.
So I think that's nice. I think you've got to acknowledge if they're not balanced in a bitted bridle, the bitless you might help a little bit, but it's not necessarily going to cure a balance issue. Balance it comes from asymmetry. Okay, so if you imbalance, you've got asymmetry going on. So you need to look at that and just find out where you can build that up. And as Niamh said, the pole work, transition work is fantastic. Proprioception work is great as well. So straddling poles, things like that, reversing over a pole, reversing uphill, all of those things are going to help. You know, and that's going to be a slow process. That could something that you're going to take 6 weeks on, it could take 6 months on, it could take 6 years on it. You know, it just depends on you and your horse and your approach and things.
Like
so
I have one mare, Tess, the 4-year-old, had her first canter and she's lovely and balanced, but she's nice and short. But I have another, he's now 5 now, and he was 4 last year. He was a big gangly thing, you know, he found it very hard to keep balance. So it depends completely on your
confirmation. That's a really good point as well. Like there's so much there to think about. So it's a really good question. Thank you. All of the questions coming in are absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much. So Kate's question. So we're going to get to the last question. So I really like the idea of Bitless, she's saying about ruled out the noseband. So the straightness stuff. So Jan says thank you. So yeah, that's really good. Straightness stuff's really, you know, there's a lot of that's really helpful. So we talk about all that groundwork and things, and actually the noseband on the bitted bridle and your noseband on the bitless bridle, hopefully the cavison that you're working with has got nice padding for a start. Usually I find with the cavisons are different, and they're not, you know, and also the noseband on the bitted bridle, you know, it can, you know, that can be uncomfortable. The noseband on the bitted bridle is designed to stop the mouth from opening. Because they're trying to move away from the bit. If the bit's uncomfortable, they try to open their mouth away from any sort of pressure that's going towards the palate. So that's why the noseband is actually originally there anyway. So that's why if you are riding bitted, you know, no noseband, to make sure that your horse can keep their mouth open if they need to, and hopefully that they would be comfortable with that bit anyway. They would need to get away from it if you found a bit that worked for you. But with the nosebands, if you're working with the cavison, you've got no bit, the horse doesn't dislike that noseband, there's going to be less reason because they're not trying to move away from anything, and you will see a lot of relaxation. I think a lot of people get into bitless through the straightness training, and softness training as well. So do you think we could go bitless? Well, you already are bitless, you're already doing a lot of the groundwork bitless, so I just say keep working through your program, and you know, if you're looking for more training, and find a good instructor that understands both bitless and maybe the straightness, and maybe some sort of centered riding as well. You know, I think they're all coming from a very, it's all biomechanical. You know, they're looking at the biomechanics, and those people are usually the ones that understand where the bitless can be a useful tool, and that's why you're training in a cavison and not a bitted bridle.
Yeah, well, I think from what you said, I think he could go bitless. You know, it sounds like you've done the groundwork and he listens very well to your verbal cues, so that's really good start. Like, it's brilliant. I think just keep working on those verbal cues, start adding your soft cues, and working on it. He's only young, he's only a baby.
You've got years ahead of you. I mean, we're looking at going into competitions, and you know, if you were looking at competing, you'd be going in like 3 or 4 years time, wouldn't you, really? A good way to go.
Around these bitless bridles, like I said, for me, when I go out hacking and I know they're going to be a bit stronger, I put a different bitless bridle in, so I have a little bit more like direct contact and direct control, and can be like, no, I want you to turn here, or that kind of thing. That might help you a little bit. Don't feel like you have to be stuck in the same one you ride in, or you know, the cavison or something like that, you know. But the way he said I use my voice and he slows instantly, like, brilliant.
That's brilliant.
You know?
Wow, yeah, seriously. You should be putting the videos on Facebook and for other people. You know, and if you do have any stuff and you want to share it, you know, stuff like that, I think that other people really need to see as well. So it sounds like you're doing some really great work there, and carry on. And I was just about what you were picking up there, Niamh, as well, about, you know, when you go out, use a different bridle. One thing I do stress to people is, don't go out with the arena until you can do it in the arena. And that's what the masterclass goes through, because it's like, you know, it gives you tips, and then the free course as well goes through this, gives you tips on this is, you know, you should be able to handle these situations. And if you plan for them in a controlled way, this is where my own background in psychology comes in. If you can control things and handle things and anticipate things in a controlled way, then when you actually meet that problem in reality, and you should be prepared to meet that problem in reality, and you should have a plan and feel confident that if that happened, that you could deal with it, you know. So it's having plan A, B and C. And if you have all of that, you're going to feel more confident, and that confidence in itself is going to reduce your own anxiety and your horse's anxiety. And that's what you know, that's what you want to be safe when you're out and about, that you understand what's going on and that you're not anxious, and that you and your horse are able and trained, and you have the communication to deal with whatever comes in front or behind. Or from the side.
Yeah, or behind, yeah, like me when I got chased by the little pony.
Yeah, chased by a stallion.
Imagine, guys, if you can imagine me on Diego, a big 16-2, galloping down a road, and you see him flying past, and you see another 2 seconds later, this little Shetland, like, it was like a cartoon. So yeah, that's what you have to be prepared for.
If someone wants to do a cartoon of that, I would absolutely appreciate that. Right, guys, well, thank you very much for all of your questions. That's great. And thank you so much, Niamh, for joining. And, you know, I just, it's been really great. And I hope that you'll come back and talk. And if people have any other questions, if you think about any other questions for Niamh or myself, you can post them on the Equine Partnership group as well. Niamh's in there, so we can always answer them for you. And we're always around and sharing what's going on. So, thank you very much, and yeah, we'll leave you to your evening.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Oh, before we go, I was going to say very quickly as well. Niamh's on Facebook. She's got Niamh O'Carroll Eventing. That you're welcome to go into there and go and follow her if you want to see what she's up to, Bitless with her horses.
If you have any like questions about Bitless and competing or that kind of thing, or the more sports side of things, just ask me. I'm happy to share my experiences.
That's great. Thanks so much, and thanks again. And yeah, well, so we'll see you. I'll be sharing out another webinar. The last one that I actually didn't record, which was a pain, so I'm going to re-record that one on my next one. So I'm going to do another. I'm going to do another Bitless for Professionals webinar. That will be a paid webinar, and then I'll also be back for Equine Partnership TV next month. We'll be covering another subject. If you've got something you want me to cover, just send me a private message and say, I'd like you to talk about this, and yeah, give me some inspiration for what you'd like to know. So thanks from me, and thanks from Niamh, and see you again. Bye.